Hey there, guys and gals. Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Scott Mayo. If you have not heard part 1 yet, make sure to go back and check that one out. You don't want to miss it. Scott's full of great stories, and we definitely had a blast throughout the whole thing, so we want to make sure that you check it out. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us out and keeps you up to date with everything I know this guy. That's enough of me, and now for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I was just watching that video you had, I guess it was pre-Grammy with Mick Jagger.
Oh, he's amazing. Mick Jagger is amazing, period. He's just amazing.
So you know what? Let's talk about that. Because I saw the video, he's coming out of the car. I'm sitting there. If I was in a sound studio, and all of a sudden this guy comes into the studio, what was it like to meet him?
First of all, he's super gracious, super gracious. He walked in, we were already rehearsing. So he walks in the room and they told us he was coming. He's like, Mick is 5 minutes away. And he walks in the room by himself with one security guard. Who, because he's got one security guard, he can probably beat everybody up in the whole room. So he whispers in the room and doesn't stop us. We keep playing, and he grabs a harmonica, just like you see in the video. And eventually when we stop, he says, "Hey, everybody, I'm Mick." And we're like, "Hey, Mick, how you doing?" And then he walks around to everybody in rehearsal and personally introduces himself and asks everyone their name. And he remembers everybody's name.
Really?
And every day was like that. He was just really gracious. And at one point where in the video, you'll see me talking to him, he said, "What'd you do last night after rehearsal?" I said, "I went home." He said, "What'd you watch?" What'd you do? I said, "I just watched some TV." He said, "What'd you watch?" I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, what'd you watch on TV?" So then I end up having a conversation with Mick Jagger about what I watched on television. And it was just a wonderful thing. So the whole time that we were together, he was really super gracious. And then for a week after the gig, every day there was another knock on the door that a package from Mr. Jagger. He kept sending everybody in the band a different little gift every day. And then the last day, he sent every single person a personalized note of thanks for doing the gig. Who does that?
Yeah, who does that?
Who does that?
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
I wish I was there.
Right?
And I'm not sure if you're into this music, but you have to give it to the composer. I grew up listening to Frank Zappa.
Oh.
And last night, I saw this incredible documentary that him and his family, I guess, put out called Zappa.
I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
It's better than I thought it would be. And it really gets into the guy, which is really cool, like his mindset and what I like always saying, what makes Frank Frank? Well, you get it.
Yeah.
What an incredible documentary. So if you get a chance, take a look at it. It goes right from, the beginning right through to, the end. And, they talk a little bit about the battle with his prostate cancer and, what he did during that time, the last concert. And, he wasn't this drugged out, psychopath that, if you talk about Zappa, you hear a lot about what he doesn't represent, which is kind of interesting, these personas that people have about different musicians. When, if you ever took a second, if you ever had a chance to hear him talk, he was so anti-drug. He just loved music for the purity of music. So it's really cool.
Frank has always been a bit of an enigma to me, but I know many musicians that have come through his band, and they are among the finest musicians I've ever played with. And so I definitely want to watch that because of that.
He didn't know how to read music.
Yeah, I know, which makes it ridiculous. Even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Hayden grew up on Frank Zappa music. All right, let's talk about pushback. Have you ever faced any pushback, either musically or personally?
Yes. Yes and yes. Life is weird. I I've definitely faced a lot of musical pushback, which is you think you're good, you think that you're doing the right thing, you think you have the right vision, and then you get pushback, and so it becomes very discouraging. So I went through that a lot, where as a songwriter I knew that I had songs for certain artists, and everything would seem like it's going in the right direction, and then all of a sudden it's like, that's not quite what we're looking for. I'm like, but that's what you said, so I wrote a song based on what you said. And so and you get enough of that happening, enough of that sort of rejection, and you're like, maybe this isn't for me. And I went through a lot of that, like a lot of rejection, where I just felt like maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, and then you go through personal stuff in your life. Like, you hit major roadblocks in your life, personal things. You go through loss, you go through loss of relationships, or loss of friends and family. And it hurts and it affects you. But then the sort of challenge of that is, what do you do with that? Do you keep pushing, or do you let it beat you down and say, I'm done? And there's wisdom in both, because I know people that have like, I'm done. I'm done with the whole LA thing. I tried making it in the music business and it just didn't work out. I'm going back home. And they find happiness and peace where they're at. But for other people, they're like, yeah, okay, that one didn't work out. I'm going to keep trying. And so you take a step back and then you just keep pushing. It really depends on who you are and where you are. And, it's very subjective.
Hayden, wasn't it Dory Cammy, when we were talking with him, that said he went into a recording session with the Police and they wanted him to play like sort of bossa nova, right? Or Brazilian guitar. And somebody said to him, no, don't you get it? We want Brazilian guitar, or something like that. And then he just kind of oh,
packed
God,
up and
that
went
was
home.
funny. That was funny. Yeah. You're telling a guy like Dory, no, that's not Brazilian. Oh.
Actually, Scott.
Yes.
What is that relationship like when people come out and reach out to you to have you write a song for their album? Like, is it all you, or do you like pitch them the song and then they have feedback and then you kind of work together? Like, say for Sergio Mendes, like how does that work?
Well, he and we write together. Okay. And so I literally will go over to his house and he sits down at his piano and I have my keyboard, and he has a keyboard, I have a keyboard, and I connect my computer and I have a video camera on just so we can capture any sort of B-roll of the idea. And I just press record on the computer. And he and I will just literally start playing and talking. He'll usually have an idea, or I'll have an idea. We start with a little seed of something. And then we just start to create and we see where it goes and what happens. And a lot of it for me is collaboration. There's stuff I do where I'm alone and I submit it to people. But as a rule, it's very collaborative, which is always better, because then it's not so sort of myopic in its perspective. You get a lot of different viewpoints, and I kind of like it like
that. So that's like for most of the songwriting gigs that you have, are they kind of similar to that, where like
yeah I mean, it's funny, I can write by myself, but there's something different. There's a different sort of, I like it better when I get to write with other people. It seems to sound a little fresher to me sometimes. And so I like it that way. I like the collaboration. I really do.
You ever found a yindy or yang?
Yes and no.
The Simon to your Garfunkel.
Yeah, exactly. My earth, wind to my fire.
And what I meant by that, though, although that could be taken two ways, right? What I was talking about is the perfect fit to the puzzle, not so much the Simon and the Garfunkel.
I mean, I don't think there's one perfect fit. I mean, I think that there's different things. Like Sergio and I, we write really, really well together for what we do. But, I've had a couple of those in my life. There's a singer-songwriter here in town. His name is Will Wheaton. And we used to write great songs together. We had great success as a writing team. In fact, we wrote a song together for Earth, Wind & Fire called Round and Round. It's a great song, and that's an example of the stuff that the two of us have done together. So you find these people that you lock with, and you stay with them, So I like with Will, he and I lock in terms of R&B. With Sergio, he and I lock with in terms of Brazilian music. So you find all these different people. There's another friend of mine, Alex Day. She's a singer-songwriter, and we wrote a few songs on my last record together. She's great. She's a great songwriter and a brilliant singer too. So they're out there.
You got a new release coming out.
I do. My first Brazilian album is called Meu Brazil, which translates to My Brazil. And it is my perspective of Brazilian music. I've been around it for a super, super long time, like 30 years, something like that. I've been playing Brazilian music. And I really wanted to just do this record. And I'm so blessed because Dori is on it. Sergio Mendes is on it. Sergio's wife, who's the voice of Sergio Mendes, Gracinha Leporati, she's on the record. Sergio's whole band is on the record. There's another composer, guitarist, Ginga, he's on the record. And it's just a great record, and it should be out in the spring, and I'm super excited about it. And Sergio sounds amazing. Dodi sounds amazing. It's great. It's a great record.
And when was that recorded?
It's been recorded over the last couple of years because, the blessing of my life is that I've been able to make a living as a musician. So, but that takes time away from me just being solely focused on my music. So now, thanks to COVID, I'm able to, fast track this stuff. So it's been 3 years or so getting this record done.
So let's talk a little bit about the inspiration to this record.
It's funny. We were at dinner one night, Sergio's band, and he said, "So what are you going to do?" And I was like, because I had just gotten done playing on Dancing with the Stars. I did a long-term run on Dancing with the Stars, and it was over. So he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, I've always had this crazy idea about doing a Brazilian record. And he's like, "Are you serious? Can I play?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I can't afford you." He said, "Afford me, please. I'd be offended if you tried to pay me. I want to be on this record. You have to have me on this record." And so then his wife was like, "Wait, are you going to do a Brazilian record?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about it." She said, "Well, I have to sing on it. I have to sing." Then the next thing you know, the band was like, "Hey, are you going to do a Brazilian record for real?" And I said, "I'm thinking about it." I said, "Well, we have to be on it. We're in." So by the time dinner was over, I guess I'm doing a Brazilian record. And that sort of started it. And it started by just wanting to do a bunch of covers of famous Brazilian songs. And now it's maybe 70% original and 30% covers. And I'm really proud of the record. It's a good record. The band sounds amazing. And I can't wait for it to get out for people to hear it.
I got to check it out. So when it does, make sure you let us know.
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hayden and I were talking about this just before the call, but, do you have any thoughts on music streaming and the advantages or disadvantages to this new model?
The advantages are that it gets your music easily in front of the world and instantly. That is a huge advantage. The disadvantages, because of the royalty rates, it's pretty challenging to be self-sustaining as a musician if you're only depending on streaming royalties. It's next to impossible. You have to get, I think it was Pharrell that put one of his royalty statements up online a couple of years ago, and he had gotten something crazy like 40 million plays of Happy, and he made $40,000, I think. And again, not complaining, but just 40 million plays, and he made $40,000. And that's just, that's insane, because if you were to get 40 million plays on terrestrial radio, you'd be rich. And so it's a real challenge to sustain yourself if you're depending on that. But the advantage is your music gets in front of a lot of people. It becomes doubly hard in COVID because now you can't go gig and sell your product at the gig. So
right. I guess, I don't know too much about streaming music. I know about e-commerce. Ask me about that. I can tell you anything or a lot of things. What about merchandising? Do you have that set up? Is there any way that you can get something out of the streaming rather than this, piece of almost nothing?
Yeah, well, they do have, like on Spotify in particular, they have a merchandising sort of platform where on your own channel, you can sell merchandise from your channel. So that's an option that some people take advantage of. I don't see a whole lot of people taking advantage of that, but I do see it on some people's channels.
Hayden, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, where do you think this is leading to? Because I mean, it's relatively new, and I feel like streaming music is in its infancy. You see Spotify coming out with new features, almost monthly. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on where this might lead the music industry?
No, I don't. And I was recently talking to a president of a label, and he was just as he's I have no idea where this is going to go. I really don't know, because it's also affecting their royalties as well. And so their bottom line is being affected by streaming. I don't know where this is going to go. My hope is that someone will come up with a streaming model that is fairer to the creators of the content. At this point, the way it's working out, I think I just heard that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex just signed a deal with Spotify for $35 million to do a podcast. And this is after Joe Rogan signed a $150 million contract to do podcasts on Spotify. So one could argue that all of our money as musicians, which is the essence of Spotify, is being given to these people to do podcasts. And I'm not hating on them, and I wish them nothing but success. But at the same time, I would love to have had a piece of the $35 million pie that you gave them. It would have been great. And so that's a challenge, So I would love to see that somebody comes up with a streaming platform that allows the content creators like us of music to be able to make a living.
It would be really nice. And I don't know what it's going to look like you were just talking about, but what is that hybrid model where it doesn't go back to the old way? Does it, this new way is definitely not working, but what is that hybrid?
I've thought about that. I really have thought about that quite a bit. And I don't know. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if that means to invent a new piece of hardware that supports this new streaming thing. I don't really know what it is. I've really thought about what is the next thing that we could do that would open up the windows of sort of heaven financially for artists. I don't know what that is. And it's very challenging, because the challenge with technology is that it's constantly moving really fast, and so you find yourself sort of artistically behind the technological 8-ball of now, as soon as you sort of get yourself in position, something new happens, and so we got to find a way maybe to marry the innovations of technology with the creation of the artists as well. I have no idea what that's going to look like. And if you figure it out, please call me and let me be the first artist that you sign.
Oh boy. When we were looking into, the different music that you've written and composed, you've written albums, but you've written a lot for TV and movies. What goes into writing for TV, or what is the different mindset writing for, your own albums or composing somebody, a song for somebody, compared to a TV show?
Well, when I'm writing a song for myself, I can take as much time as I need. If I'm writing a song for somebody else, I have a little more time. If I'm writing for television, I need to have it tomorrow. I have literally been on a show. We were doing an episode of Dancing with the Stars, and the musical director was playing a song, and I'm not really paying attention to what he's doing. And he's like, and he looks over at me. He said, "Can you make this a big band arrangement?" I said, "What?" He said, "Can you make this a big band arrangement?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. When do you need it?" He said, "Tomorrow." I said, "Tomorrow at rehearsal at 10 o'clock?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "It's midnight. We're still on the set. I'm not home yet." He said, "Yeah, I know." So we got home. I think I got home at 1 o'clock. They sent me that little thing that he was playing on piano. I stayed up until 5 to finish writing it, went to sleep for an hour and a half, and grabbed my computer to do a little bit more. And on the way to rehearsal, which started at 10 o'clock, every stoplight, I was editing the chart. In my car, I had my laptop next to me on the passenger seat. I was every single red light, I was editing. Every single red light. And then, of course, we get to rehearsal. And he's like, "Let's start with Scott's song." And I'm like, "No, give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm not quite you know. And by the way, to make any more pressure, when I asked him, I said, well, who is this for? He said, Shaka Khan. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So literally I had to finish a big band arrangement overnight. And that was pretty typical of what life is like writing for television. You can go crazy. And the further on you get into the season, the smaller the windows of turnaround time become. And it's just crazy. It's
How do you do it? That's a feat in itself.
Yeah, you find a way. I mean, you just find a way. And, you know, you stay up late, you get up early, you get a little less sleep, you get on the set, and every break you're sort of napping. Yeah, so you just have to do it. I mean, or you say no. It's just that simple. You say no. But, you know, working in TV can be lucrative, especially if you're doing what I did. I played all the doubles, which means I played saxophones, flutes, and clarinets and everything else. And so there'd be shows where I'd be surrounded by instruments, but I'm also still doing 5 and 6 arrangements for that very show. So there was a lot on my plate. So you add all that up and you start to make some decent money. So you don't want to say no, because we're artists and a gig is a gig. And but yeah, the turnaround time gets to be a little hectic. Really, it's a little a bit much. Coffee becomes your best friend. Yeah, cold brews really become your best friend.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
All right. So I'm naive when it comes to this, but you're given a task. The task is almost impossible. You get it done the first time. What happens if you can't get it done? It's impossible. What happens if you don't get it done?
I don't miss deadlines. I literally don't miss deadlines. I will inconvenience myself as much as I have to, but I don't miss a deadline. If I tell you I'm going to do it, it will get done. Come hell or high water, it's going to get done. I do not miss deadlines. I take great pride in that. I get less sleep, but I don't miss a deadline.
Join my team, please. Music to my ears. All right, so let's say there's musicians, young musicians out there, composers. Can you give them any tips?
Yeah, work hard. Really work hard. Be inconvenienced. Stay up late, get up early, listen as much as you can. Ask questions from people who are older and better at you. If you see somebody that does something well that you're not so good at, just say, how do you do that? Can you show me? Most of us are pretty gracious and want to help. So just ask us how we do it. The only reason I do what I do at this level is because I've asked a lot of people for help. How do you do that? Wow, you're really great at that. Can you show me how to do that? Every single time, like, yeah, sure, it's no big deal. Let me show you. And listen as much as you can. Listen to music. Lots and lots and lots of music. Never, ever stop listening. That's the best thing that you can do as a musician, is to listen to as much music. Never, ever stop. I'm still listening to stuff. This whole COVID time, I've been listening to all these great classical pieces that I maybe never heard or never had time to really just sit down and focus on. It's been great. So even me, I'm still listening to music. I'm listening to a lot of Count Basie, a lot of John Coltrane, again, still. You know, just keep listening and just keep growing and working hard, really.
In business, there's a lot of mentoring going on. You hear about people, talking about mentoring. You see that a lot in the music scene?
I don't see as much as I would like to see. I think that sort of goes back to that same thing. I think sometimes some musicians feel as if they have to be a rugged individual, and so they don't reach out to more experienced musicians and ask them for help. And thanks to Instagram, I think that people think that there's a quick fix. And because you have 30,000 followers, why do you need to listen to me? Like, I don't need to listen to you. I got 30,000 followers on Instagram. Like, well, okay. And so I think that that's another sort of problem. I would love to see more mentoring, because through mentoring, you start to see the thread start to elongate. And so the things that somebody started before me, that he or she taught me, I can continue, and then I can mentor somebody else and teach them that. And so you have this thread of continuity that continues. And I would just love to see more of that. I don't see enough of that in the music business, but for musicians. I do see it on the business side of the music business, but I don't see it on the music side of the music business. And I'd love to see more of that. I really would.
With everything that's happening in the music business right now, do you have to become a full business person as well as a musician, handling the marketing, or, more so than before?
It much more so. And that's pre-COVID. That's just the times in which we live. Social media is really important. You grow your business through what you do on social media. And so I don't want to brag about, well, I'm working with this person, but if I don't show that I'm working with that person, I might not get this next client. So I think it's really important. Yeah, you have to be concerned with marketing. You have to be. But at the same time, you can't be so concerned with marketing that when you show up, you suck. So I think it's really important to balance being excellent at what you do so that the thing you're selling is top notch. Because I think sometimes people get confused with that. They try so hard to market, but then what are you marketing? You're marketing something that you're not good at. So take the time to be good at that thing and then market that so that the excellence that you're bringing to the table becomes much easier to market. And that's what you get known for. But yeah, you have to do all of that, because if you don't do that stuff, your business doesn't grow. It just simply doesn't grow.
Any social platform that you would recommend one over the other?
I tend to be more active on Instagram. I do think that Instagram has become the platform to be on right now. More people use it. More people like it. TikTok is starting to take over a little bit, but not so much with musicians. I don't see so many musicians involved in TikTok. I see much more musicians involved in Instagram, even more so than Facebook. They're just not really doing the Facebook thing as much. But in terms of a social media platform, Instagram seems to be the place that more of us are sort of residing at this point.
All right. Have you heard of Clubhouse?
Just 2 days ago. What is Clubhouse?
You gotta get on Clubhouse.
I just heard about this thing. So what is it?
Oh my God. For musicians, it's incredible. So right now it's in beta. You got to get an invite. Okay. I can send you an invite. I have one.
Please.
Yeah. What it is all audio. You go in, you can lecture, you can talk. You have these rooms that you can just set up and start talking about jazz. You talk about anything, but then you start to get followers. And right now it's at the beginning. It's like being the first on Facebook.
I'm in. That sounds fun. I literally just heard about Clubhouse 2 days ago, and I just didn't understand what it was, but I had a feeling, something about it. I was like, I wonder if this is the next thing.
It's going to be the next thing. Oh my gosh. It is growing rapidly, and it's still in beta.
Oh, hit me up. I'm down.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about hurdles that you've overcome. I don't like using the word failures, but one of the things that we talk about on this podcast is people who are successful, interesting people. People have to understand it takes time and it takes effort, and you didn't get to where you were just because, you walked into the position or just, walked into a job. So how did you get there? So not only that, how did you get there? What hurdles did you have to overcome? That's the question. And how did you get over those hurdles? And what did you learn from them? 3 questions.
Oh, man, hurdles.
Other than the 7-foot snowdrift that you had to dig out of.
Exactly. And that was definitely a hurdle. I think, for me, it's a lot of my hurdles have just been sort of personal hurdles. Like, how do you confront some of your fears? Like, I've had areas of fear where on the outside, it looks like everything's going great. But on the inside, I'm really afraid to take a chance and try this thing because I've never done it before. And what if I fall on my ass and everybody starts laughing at me? And so I've had a lot of those, a lot of areas where I just, I've never done that before. What happens, but to me, in spite of the sort of internal struggle that I've had, and a lot of times it is that internal conversation like you were talking about before, the messaging inside me was, you suck. You've never done that. You're an idiot. Why are you going to do that? That's dumb. And then the external me is just like, well, who cares? Just go for it. Just try it. Because even if I get embarrassed, even if they laugh at me, even if I fall on my ass, at least I tried it. And so for me, I sort of think about what Einstein talked about, where he talked about a rubber band. Like life is like that, that once you stretch a rubber band, it will never go back to its original shape, ever. And I feel like that with life, like you have to be willing to confront those hurdles and to not be afraid to say, this might not work out. I might actually suck. And in my case, because of what I do, I might suck in front of a whole lot of people. I really might. And this might be pitiful, but it never does. And it seems to always work out. And even if it does suck, in the midst of sucking, you'd be surprised how sort of, because I did something one day. I played a saxophone that I don't play. At the time, I didn't play the saxophone, and I wasn't good at it, and I just didn't want to do it. But the person I was working for said, you have to play it. And it was live in front of 50,000 people. And it wasn't good. I have to admit, it was not good. I was not proud of what I did. But in the midst of that, as I'm playing, I'm like, that sucked. That sucked. That wasn't so bad. That actually was pretty good. That sucked. Try that again. Do less of that. Do more of that. And all of a sudden, like I was so keyed into what I was doing that though it wasn't perfect, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do this again and try to not do the things that I didn't like and do more of the things that I did like. And I got better at it because I had the courage to take that step. But yeah, it was pretty horrible at first. It was really not good. So you just gotta push through those things and not be afraid of them, and somehow things will work out. I really do believe that. But it does take courage. It takes courage, even if the message is internal. And more often than not, it's not somebody else saying that you suck. It's yourself saying that you suck and that you're gonna fall on your face. So for me, I just try to push through that doubt that I have inside and just keep going and just try it. And things will work out. You might fall on your face, but it's okay. It's better to fall than not fall and have doubt.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Now, let's swing it around to the other side. What's been your greatest success?
Oh, God, this is going to sound super cliche, and I don't mean it to sound like that, but I honestly mean this. I think my greatest success is that I'm a really good dad. I'm a really good dad. I'm really good at that. And no matter what happens in my life musically, I'm a really good father. I'm really present, and I think I have a relationship with them because I'm present and I listen to them. We have an actual relationship where it goes both ways. So I think I'm a really good dad. I'm proud of that.
How old are your kids?
28 and 33. 32 actually. 32 and 28.
Oh, that's great. The one thing I forgot to ask you about are some quotes that you live by.
There's a couple. I've always, and it's funny because it seems like during COVID, more than any other time, it sort of really is applying itself. Like Martin Luther King said, a man's character is proven in adversity. And I just see more and more of that as sort of the adversity of COVID comes against people. You're starting to see people's true character come to life. It's like, ooh, wow, I didn't know that about you. Huh. I think that if you're a giving person, when there's pressure, you'll still be giving. You just may have to give less rather, but you'll still be giving. If you were a butthole when things were great, when things aren't so great, you'll still be a butthole. You might even be more of a butthole. Exactly. So, I just really find that really does apply to a whole lot that we're going through in this life.
Yeah, I can't agree more with that quote. I've seen that in so many, from friends to business associates, where everything's good until there's fear or greed, and then the person's true personality comes out, and it's scary. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. But yeah, nice quote.
I've experienced it as a songwriter. Like there'll be three of us that write a song together, for example, and we get it placed on an album by a fairly major artist. And then all of a sudden, well, I actually wrote like 40% of the song. I'm like, are you serious right now? I thought we went into this thing saying that we're going to be even. Now you want more than the other? Really? what is going on? And so but it's funny, like money does that to people. Money can reveal character.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not going to get away from that.
No, not at all.
I wish, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, so is there anything else that you'd like to touch on? Anything that's happening? Anything in the future that's going on with your life? We're winding down the podcast right now, so I'd love to hear anything else that you'd like to talk about.
I'm working on a couple different things right now. I work with this wonderful composer, Paul Buckley, and he's writing for this new show that's coming out on Netflix. It's going to be an animated show called Go Dog Go, and it's coming out, I think, in the spring also. And I'm really excited about that because I get to play all the woodwinds. So I play piccolo and flute and clarinet and bass clarinet and all my saxophones, and it's really fun. And I love doing animated music because it's so hard. It's really challenging, but it sounds so good when it's done. And I did a thing for Apple Television last year called The Helpsters, which is a joint venture between Apple and Sesame Street. That was fun. I did the same thing for that. And I'm just, trying to work as much as I possibly can, try to stay engaged with new artists that are looking for what I'm bringing to the table, and just stay engaged with music in general, music and life, and just try to enjoy this process, whatever it is and wherever it's going. And, it's a journey. I have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring, but I just try to be the best me I can and embrace it.
Hey, Scott, what's the name of the new album coming out?
The new album is called Meu Brazil, MEU, My Brazil. It'll be out in spring.
Fantastic. All right. So at the end of every podcast, I always throw one question over to our guest. Do they know a guy?
I know a guy. I do know a guy, and I think you guys should talk to him. He's one of my best friends on the planet Earth. His name is Romeo Johnson, and he's done a little bit of everything with everybody, and he's super, super interesting.
Fantastic. So we'll definitely reach out to him. And thank you, Scott, so much for being on. It was really interesting. I told you before, I just kind of was browsing the internet and I saw this thing with Mick Jagger and I went, holy, and that caught my attention. So I did a ton more digging and, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you very much. I did too. It was great. Really great. Really great.
All right, sir. So we will see you later, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening, everyone. That concludes our interview with Scott Mayo. Now, next week's guest was a bit of a surprise. Larry Broughton put us in contact with Anthony Malcurie from Hotel Impossible. I know my dad and I have spent many a holiday binge watching that show, so it was pretty amazing to be able to get to ask him all the little details we've always wanted to know. He also ended up having a really inspiring story that I had no idea about, so if you're a fan of Hotel Impossible, make sure to check that one out. Anyway, that's enough for me, and I'll see you next time.